What's up out there? What's going on? We back this time with an episode of Let Me Say This, the two-man, the original Dream Team, the originators. It's myself and Dre Davis.
Yes, Sirski.
NFL playoffs on the way.
Playoffs?
MVP race pretty much wrapped up. And, of course, the infamous Black Monday happened. A lot of coaches got fired, even though some got fired way before the season ended. So we're going to start with that.
We
got John Harbaugh, Raheem Morris, John Gannon.
Yes, sir.
Can't even think of his name.
Which one you think
but it'll
about?
come to me. Brian Daboll and Brian Callahan, which we all know got fired early in the season. Oh, and Pete Carroll. There we go. There it is. Pete Carroll all got fired. But was that the last two? They got fired when the season pretty much happened. But what are your thoughts on the first two? Mainly John Harbaugh and Raheem Morris. What do you got?
I mean, you know how disappointed I was about Morris more than anything. That ending the season with 4 wins in a row. I'm gonna say it like this. This is how I visualized it as a player or in his shoes. You just came off a 4-game win streak. You turned the season around. A couple weeks ago, you was past, your season was pretty much over, but, you brought some life back to the city. You had some good quality wins over the last couple weeks. You do your press conference. You talk to the press. And I saw a clip where he shake hands with, with the owner, the owner's son. Like, you go through this whole process. You go to the locker room celebrating that you had a now decent season. Then you get ready to leave and they say, nah, we want to talk to you real quick. And now they want to fire you, like riding that high and being let down like that. Like you said it too. Like, that's why they'll never be good. That's why there'll never be success over there in Atlanta. And maybe a good hire here may change my tune. But and like I explained it to somebody today talking about sports, man, continuity is big in sports. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Having the same scheme, having the same coach, having the same regiment, knowing the cadence in your coach's voice, knowing what he's going to say, you know what I'm saying, in certain spots. And we didn't talk about it before. You know what I'm saying? That transition from our junior year to our senior year was big. And we spent 9 months trying to figure out a new system. And by the time those 9 months was over, the season was over. You know what I'm saying? So,
we out of here. And focus on graduating now.
And it's even crazier to me, you know what I'm saying? And to further my point, to go there then thereafter with teams later and go to the state championship with that same system. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say, sometimes everything that glitters ain't gold. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you, if we fired Kellen Moore after this season in the first year, I'm mad more about the first years and Morris turning that season around. Like, it's something about having the same, especially when you end the season that way on a 4-game win streak. That means we got something to look forward to in the future. We got something. We know we started to figure it out. We started to click. Now you got to start over.
Yeah.
Bro, Harbaugh was just written in the stars. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody, like a guy was telling me earlier today, that kick at the end of the game decided who got fired. That's the really crazy part about it, because one of them was gonna go get fired, and they was like, "What do you think is the kicker fault that they got fired?" And I said, "Nah, I think they was always, it was always gonna make that choice no matter what." And I think you even brought up a good point. You know what I'm saying? What happens if the Steelers lose here in Wildcard weekend? Like, it's still a possibility that Tomlin might be on the bench, but do the first two just necessarily surprise me? Not really, but. Is it for the first two in particular? There's a lot of disappointment for both of them, because 18 years you gonna fire me for, you know what I'm saying, a mediocre season. Mediocre coaches get fired for mediocre seasons. All that we've done, you know what I'm saying, and it's not always the coach's fault, but they're always the scapegoats. That's just how it is. That's sports in general. Some of the other fires, like you said, Daboll, Pete Carroll, may not have been totally deserved, but definitely something that you've seen coming from afar. I still think Mike McDaniel is on the fringe of being booted as well. And I know you didn't bring him up, but again, one of those guys that I don't feel. You know what I'm saying? That's just one of those things where it's like, again, it's not completely their fault, but here's the situation you in, and you know what I'm saying, you just got to deal with it. But I don't know, man. What you thinking about, when it comes to this whole coaching carousel?
With the Raheem Morris, yeah, it don't kind of, because it ain't, he went 8-9 the previous season, his first season. And then you go 8-9 again. It wasn't like it was a drop off like from an 8-9 to a 4-13, something like that. And then like, hey,
which it was headed towards.
We let him finish his job, and we part ways that way. No, this is one of these situations. Hey, 2 years in a row, 16 wins to 18 losses. I mean, you under 500, but you not, you know what I'm saying? You 2 wins away from being an average team. I mean, technically, even if it wasn't for being the NFL having to, put an extra game, it's back-to-back 8-8 seasons for the Falcons. So it's just like, but with that, it's just like, you got the coach in place now. We just, we need a quarterback to stay healthy. Maybe here we can add some more pieces. Because I felt like when Drake London went down, outside of Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, who else did they have that was a threat at receiver? As far as a pass catcher goes, you know what I'm saying? So something like that can help the offense, help the team overall success as far as record-wise when one of your key players on offense go down. Then, you drafted this young talent on defense along with the established guys that have been there, the A.J. Terrells, the Jesse Bates, who's been a star in this league for the Bengals before, they cheaped out and didn't want to pay him, and now he shows up to Atlanta and
a good
being the same all-pro safety that he was. So it's just... You kind of jump. I feel like you jumped this one. You jumped the gun because, like I said, it's back-to-back 8-9 seasons. So the third season is like, okay, now I really would say this is your make or break season for Raheem Morris. Okay, like
right.
His first 2 years, we won 16 games to 18 losses. Okay, not bad, but let's see what we can do this year. Either you right here in the middle, basically. Either we can, or we can. And then it's like you look at the division as far as the NFC South as a whole. Who is getting better at the moment? Well, we don't know what the Saints are gonna do, but it's like Tampa, not really better. It's pretty much they got what they got. Jury out, I guess you could say, on Carolina as well, but like nobody is significantly better in the NFC South, better than all the other teams. As far as the better than the Falcons, the other teams are not significantly better than the Falcons in the NFC South. So it's just like, look at stuff like that too. It's just so.
3 teams in that division.
89.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm echoing what you're saying. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you give players a longer leash at being on a team than you do a coach. You know what I'm saying? 2 years is a good benchmark for a guy that just went pretty much, like you said, 500 2 years in a row. We talk about Mike Tomlin, who still, you know what I'm saying, of course, on the hot seat, has never been below 500. And like I repeatedly have said, you can't fire a guy that really has never lost. And the same thing kind of applies with Raheem Morris, but like you said, that extra game makes it look like we just had 2 losing seasons. No, we had 2 middle-of-the-pack seasons. I think, you hit the nail on the head. Personnel for the Falcons is a big part of the reason why they are not winning. Like, on the field, they are missing receivers. They have to now depend on Darnell Mooney at one point, and I think they actually traded Mooney for the player I'm about to name, but Olamide Zaccheaus was a player that was on their team. Like, guys you haven't heard of or heard from in so long that when you watch the Falcons, if Drake London's not on the field, if Kyle Pitts isn't effective, if Bijan isn't running the way that he's supposed to, you have a bunch of nothing. And I did just name a big piece of their offense at different spots, but you got to put the rest of it together. But I think the question that I would ask to you then for that is, how much do you think the fiasco from this offseason with Cousins and drafting Penix, how much do you think that played into this decision?
Now, I'll say, the coach is one thing, but the GM, I think the GM, they paying that, I guess you could say, I mean, if you look at the quarterbacks market now, I guess you could say they got Kirk Cousins for a steal, but even still,
They really did.
With his rap sheet and the contracts he's gotten from Minnesota and the 2 franchise tags he had in Washington, he's had a pretty decent penny. But drafting Penix, so it's just like, okay, maybe y'all didn't see Kirk Cousins fulfilling that full 4-year contract that they gave him. Maybe 2 years out of that contract, and then we transition to Michael Penix. granted, who's already pretty much on the older side when he came into the league. Like, I think he was 24 when he got drafted. So, yes. So, that I feel like that also played a part too, because you don't want this guy. I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't start until he was 24, going on 25, but he was in the league at 21, 22. You know what I'm saying? So, different scenario. He already sat behind somebody and waited until he got to that age versus coming into the league at that age and then basically being thrust into a starting role. Yeah. So, it's just like, so it's kind of different. So, yeah, I think that kind of played a part, at least with the GM getting fired, because he got fired as well. Now with the coach, I don't know what was going on, maybe because it can't have been the players tuning you out, because you don't go on a 4-game win streak if players, I mean, you can win in spite of coaches, but you're not going on a 4-game win streak if players are not like buying in, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure there's players in that locker room that would have vouched for to have him back for a third season. But hey, we see where the league is going. The league is into hiring more of these offensive head coaches to help out these young quarterbacks, so they can and then get a defensive guy. He handles that, and the head coach is the head coach who oversees everything, but more still focused on the offensive side of the ball, helping the development of the quarterback, as we see in Jacksonville now with Trevor Lawrence. We're seeing in Carolina with Bryce Young. We've seen with Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur. Basically, that little West Coast Bill Walsh, Mike Shanahan coaching play style that we've seen in the league for the last 25, 30 plus years. So, like, that's what a lot of these teams are looking for. Because, as any sport, it's a copycat league. What is this team that's doing that's winning? So, and I feel like Atlanta might want to take that Philadelphia blueprint. So they might go get another receiver in the draft. You got Bijan Robinson. You got the tight end. You got a defense. So I feel like they might take that approach. And I guess you could say you got your quarterback in Michael Penix. Now, with the John Harbaugh, because I didn't get a chance to speak on that yet, but the John Harbaugh situation, it's like the Andy Reid in Philly. Hey, man, you just reached, you did what you could here. You had, Andy Reid was there from 99 to 2000. So you had 14, successful, or 14 great years here. Andy Reid reached the Super Bowl, a multitude of NFC championship games. John Harbaugh had a multitude of winning seasons, some NFC championship games, won a Super Bowl. But then it kind of, towards the latter half, there's a lot of things that fell flat. And it falls on coaching. Late game blown leads or mismanaging of situational football, like the AFC championship game when Kansas City was in Baltimore, like they fell down 10-0 and all of a sudden they just hit a panic and just stopped doing what their identity does and running the ball. So like some of this stuff, so yeah, it's stuff like that I can kind of see why Harbaugh was let go. But after almost 20 years, I guess it's time to get a fresh face in there. So that's not a bad thing, because like we talked about too with the, like I said, that field goal kick depended on who's getting fired or not, or also prolonging the inevitable. Now this is, the playoffs coming up, so everything is on the up and up. We'll, anything can happen. Then like with the, briefly touch on Vegas and Pete Carroll, that's just a bad team, man. Like
bad. Bill
Belichick can't even come in there and save it. It might look good with Bill Belichick. They might have won 6 games, but still, like, it's gonna take, like we talked the other day, it's gonna take 2 off seasons to fix what's going on in Vegas.
Where it's supposed to be.
So yeah, so with that, and all the other, like you say, Gannon, Arizona has had 2 outlier years. The one year they reached the Super Bowl, the other year when they went to the NFC Championship game, they got beat down by the Panthers. Those are their 2 outlier years. Other than that, they're just been the Cardinals, that just a bad ran organization in my opinion.
The last thing I wanted to say though, before we move on to the playoffs themselves, going back to Atlanta, of course, being an NFC South rival, I pay a lot of attention to them. Again, I want to point out that Michael Penix in the last two combined seasons has only played 14 games. Now, he did play 9 games this season, but going back to the firing of the GM and that decision still ended up leading to 4 straight wins at the end of the season, giving you your second straight 8-9 year. If Phoenix only plays 9 games this year, where are they without Cousins? So that's just something to think about, on that topic. But, and
again, also that GM as well did draft a lot of those guys that are making plays for this team, and then acquire a Jesse Bates. So with that, And then, so we'll see. Like, it's going to be a lot of these offensive coaches, like a Joe Brady name going to get thrown around. It's the other guy. I can't remember his name, but his name, a lot of names like that are going to get thrown around, though. But before we actually got into the playoff talk, I actually want to talk about the MVP race and who you think. Is it a 2-man race and maybe a 3-man race? We got a Matthew Stafford, a Drake May, a Trevor Lawrence.
It's a 2-man race.
Who do you think MVP of the league?
It's gonna come down to 4 different. Well, when I say 4 different people, the 4th one is gonna shock you. So obviously the 4th one. Well, when I get to it, obviously Drake May and Matthew Stafford. I think T-Law, the way that he turned around Jacksonville's season and went on a tear to end the year, has the best numbers, I believe, in his career since he came into the league, which is great for him too. So I think you put his name in there, but obviously I don't think he's going to be over Drake May or Matthew Stafford before. And believe it or not, the Texans. And I don't mean C.J. Stroud. I don't mean anybody in specific, but I mean the Texans. Like, the Texans completely turned their season around. They had some games where they didn't have C.J. Stroud. They, missing pieces on that offense. But, if there was ever a way to give a team award away, it would be to the Texans. But
I guess you can kind of wrap that up and call it a coach of the year, if we're being honest.
Yeah. But more than anything, I think it's a real 2-man race, Drake May, Matthew Stafford. We saw that game a couple weeks ago where we really felt like Stafford threw his way out of the race, but that's gonna be determined by the voters. But yeah, it's definitely down to Drake May and Stafford for sure.
I'll go on a limb and say Matthew Stafford. I think props to New England and what they've done, but I feel like the voters got to and also the voters got to consider that it was a 3-team race in the NFC West compared to what we already knew knowing about the AFC East. We already knew that was going to either be Buffalo or New England. Mainly Buffalo. We thought New England come in and maybe be a 11-6, 10-7 wild card team, but I will say they exceeded. So I will throw Mike Vrabel's hand in there for coach of the year, but I think Matthew Stafford is what he was able to do to keep this team competitive and put up the numbers he did, except for a couple games. It seemed like the NFC South teams, the Panthers and the Falcons, just, those 2 games where he just didn't play his best. But outside of those 2 games, very stellar year. So it's just and at one point we did consider them the best team in football overall, even with, the Broncos at the time only having 1 loss and what may have you. And so I will say Matthew Stafford for the simple fact that tougher competition as far as in his own division and being able to be the second place team and go 12-5 in the NFC West along with San Francisco. So I will give it to Matthew Stafford. And then Drake May, like I said, great second year. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks in their second year. Lamar, Pat Mahomes win MVP in their second year, but I think I'll give it to Stafford in that regard.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Guess we can move on and get to the meat and potatoes of it.
Yep.
NFL Super Wildcard weekend. We got a couple games on Saturday. And we're going to start off with a game on Amazon Prime, old NFL rivalry. This rivalry, about 100 and some years old. The third installment of
yes, sir,
Chicago versus Green Bay.
I'm really excited about this.
Thoughts on this one? No Micah Parsons in the playoffs versus the Packers. The Packers, 3rd year in a row as a 7 seed. The 7 seed Kings, the 7 seed Merchants. But what are you feeling about this game?
Man, when I was a kid, bro, Lil Wayne had me thinking that I was low-key kind of a cheesehead on the side. I kind of liked Aaron Rodgers. I liked everything about him. We watched Aaron Rodgers for a long time. We watched him when he was backing up Favre, you know what I'm saying? But this game right here is a classic, man, every single time. Even when we was kids, you know what I'm saying? You know what that frozen tundra looks like up there, you know what I'm saying, in Lambeau. You know what it's like in Soldier, and I love Soldier Field. Always will. Even the Saints had some classic games at Soldier Field, but this one is always a classic. I became a Bears sidekick fan a couple years back. One of the last years A-Rod was there when he told them folks he owned them. And ever since then, ever since then, I've taken the Bears-Packers rivalry a little personal. Like, I always look at it on the calendar, but in the last couple of years still, like, the Bears just couldn't do it. CW is in the best position to etch his name into early history in his career, start making a name for himself. Jay Love's been kind of beaten, battered, and bruised all year, so, I don't know how he's going to come into it. And they on the road, you know what I'm saying? Instead of being at home in Lambeau, they are playing little brother this year. I think it's going to be a good one. It's Green Bay by 1.5 right now, if that tells you anything about the game. Just being biased.
That's definitely going to change by the time we kick off, honestly.
All right, yeah, I already know. I'm biased, but, I like CW. I like DJ Moore. I like Swift. I like Tremaine Edwards on the defensive side. I like Jalen Johnson. I miss my boy Eddie. Or Eddie's still over there, ain't he? Or Eddie gone?
Bojack was in Baltimore 1 year, and then after that, I ain't heard from him since.
Yeah, but they got some. Or they don't. They got Jaquan Brisker now. But yeah, they got some really good talent over there.
Luther Burden. Is Ronald Duzay back? Because I know he kind of missed.
I think he'll be back
a little bit later in the season. Missed some games.
Yeah, but I mean, if you paid attention to the Bears in the last couple of years, which I was rooting for Fields, but if you paid attention to the Bears in the last couple of years, like, you've been seeing, they've been drafting well, they've been doing well, you know what I'm saying, putting together a roster. It's just a lot of time, they didn't have the quarterback, obviously.
Last year they didn't have the coach, as we seen. That same coach now hadn't got fired as a coordinator, but keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, man, I mean, you can go ahead and take off after this. I like the Bears. I'm not going to say by how much or anything like that, but I like the Bears.
I will take Chicago on this for the simple fact that Green Bay was looked at as a Super Bowl contender when the season started. Obviously when that big splash trade happened, then he goes down versus Denver. But like we said, they're coming in here battered and bruised once again as a 7 seed. You got Chicago, who's found new life, it seems like they found their footing. I know when we did our picks, who did we have? Yeah, when we
early
did
in the season.
Yeah, when we did we had the 2 episodes that we sat on. Who do we? I know
talking
in the
about
NFC
for the
North.
Division?
Yeah, I want to say. I know I said Detroit would take a step back. I remember saying that, and they're out of the playoffs. I think I said it was gonna come down between. I want to say Green Bay and Chicago.
I want to say this. Yeah.
So here we are. Not Green Bay. Chicago wins the division, and guess what? Your reward is playing 7 seed Green Bay Packers. But you get a home playoff. You're guaranteed at least 2 home playoff games by securing that 2 seed.
Man. You just got to go win one.
And we'll get into Philly's situation when we discuss that game. So it's just like, this is, and then you're getting your guys back healthy. Ben Johnson has a heavy dosage of passing the ball and along as with running the ball. So there's always that element. And then, of course, we can't really say the weather's going to play a factor because they both play in pretty much the same conditions. So that's not really going to be but I think it's just going to come down to maybe like the game that they had the Saturday night in Chicago. Who can execute late down the stretch? We know Chicago got the lucky bounce with the onside kick, but Caleb made plays when it was time to make plays. He's already shown that he can make plays. Like, regular season is where you make your name, and pretty much the postseason is where you solidify yourself. So I think Caleb Williams is going to go and solidify himself. I would go out on a limb, but I'll wait round by round basis. But I'm going to take Chicago in this. It's going to be a low-scoring wild card game. Probably last game was 19-17, 19-6, somewhere like around there. So it's gonna be the same, 20-17, 17-14, or something like that. So, but I'm gonna take Chicago in that regard. Shout out to the lady. She's from the Chi, so she's very excited about seeing the Bears in the playoffs. And the last time the Bears and Packers faced off in the playoffs, NFC Championship game, 2010 season. So this will be fun, but, stakes are a little bit lower. I mean, the winner just advanced to the next round. That's about it. Ain't a Super, ain't a
stakes
to advance to the Super Bowl.
Stakes, in my opinion, couldn't be any higher because
you get a third
chance at bragging rights.
Yeah.
So I think
and then it's a 1-1 split. It ain't like, it's a 1-1 split. It ain't like they beat us twice in the regular season, but we got them when it really counted. But this is the first game, the kickoff to start the wild card weekend. We get Carolina versus the LA Rams Part 2. Like we said, the Panthers upset the Rams by way of assistance of Matthew Stafford having a few turnovers in that game. But what are we looking for in this game? We see the Rams kind of, rolled into the playoffs hot. The Panthers lost their last game and needed help to secure their playoff spot, which happened. So what are your key points in this matchup?
I can tell you one thing for two and two things for certain. I'm taking the money line on the Panthers this weekend because it's a 10.5.
-10? Yeah, they going crazy for no reason.
I'm going to go ahead and take the money line regardless. I think it's all in accordance to which Bryce Christopher Young shows up this weekend. Last weekend, I was a little disappointed. He had one of those less than 100-yard games after having a number of really potentially great games this year. I got a chance to watch the Panthers a lot this year, and so I was very excited about that, considering Bryce is one of our guys. But he had some high spots and low spots. I called out his stats almost after every week, you know what I'm saying, because I was keeping track of it and going back to that game, you know what I'm saying, because we talked consistently throughout that game. Just a great game from Bryce Young and the crew, you know what I'm saying, the 3-point win over a team that already came to your house, and they really, at that point in time, for real, Stafford was willing and dealing. And
blazing hot at that point in the season, yes.
And so for that to be a really signature win for Bryce after just losing the Monday night game the week before to San Fran, that's the mix and match for Bryce Young. But if there was ever a stage for him to be on, Bryce is a big game guy. He has no fear in his heart. It's just about his execution. And we haven't seen him not able to execute until he got to the pros. So, I'm a homer. I gotta go with the Panthers.
Upset?
I gotta go with the Panthers. I gotta go with B19. It's a travesty. That's how 2026 started. Matthew Stafford may be the MVP, but the MVP of my heart is Bryce Young. For sure.
Well, the chances of Matthew Stafford going in there and having the amount of turnovers he did.
First time.
They barely lost. But when you do stuff like that in the playoffs, you might get ran off the field unless your name is Tom Brady. He turned it over twice in the Super Bowl. We seen what happened. But but that's an outlier. Usually you turn the ball over that many times. Oh, and Trevor Lawrence when he threw 4 interceptions, another outlier. But usually when you turn the ball over that much, you're pretty much you're gonna get beat bad. They lost by 3 points. So even with that, they still only lost by 3 points. I think this time around that spread is crazy. I think the Panthers cover, but it's going to be, I would say the Rams win this game 27-20 because I think they, like I said, we're going to get a heavy dose of that McVay play calling, some good runs, solid passes. They're going to have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua back, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum running the ball, Ed Verse getting after Bryce Young and, all those guys they got on defense getting after the quarterback. But also on the flip side, this is a money game for Bryce.
Yes,
and what I mean by that fifth-year option and then contract extension talks. Like, Bryce, you don't really have to be the reason that they win. Just don't be the reason that your team loses. Just go out here and show up. And, do your thing, put up good numbers, and then they going to look like, hey, he showed up in the playoffs, our first playoff game in a decade, almost a decade. And this is what he did. So, hey, I feel like he can make those moments and feel like he make that happen. And now we transition on to Sunday.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite matchup.
First.
1 o'clock kickoff. We got AFC South champs Jacksonville Jaguars versus reigning MVP Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, whom has a lot, I guess you could say, media added pressure by always announcing no Lamar, no Burrow, and no Mahomes in the playoffs. So Buffalo, no excuse. But Drizzum Dre.
Yes, sir.
What are we thinking about this matchup between Buffalo and Jacksonville? Because I might shock you.
You ain't going to shock me because I'm about to say the same thing. Do you know how crazy it's probably about to be this weekend when Josh Allen loses to Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really see it. And the reason I see it is because of how hot Jacksonville is right now. Like, and if there was ever a team that is led by somebody with more inconsistency than anything, it's Josh Allen. Josh Allen had his most consistent year last year. He had his best chance, in my opinion, last year. People thinking it's a better chance just because Brady, you know what I'm saying, Mahomes, Lamar, all out the way. That's all cool, fine, and dandy. But just like we already know, these young cats on the way. T-Law, we've been waiting on him. You know what I'm saying? We've been watching T-Law since 2018. You know what I'm saying? 2017. So it's been a long time coming for T-Law. He had they had the dub over the Chargers a couple years ago. Went on to play the Chiefs on the road. Ended up, you know what I'm saying, spiking that game. But I think this time around for T-Law is different. You know what I'm saying? I think he had an injury the next season. Came back, you know what I'm saying, strong. So I'm hoping that this is T-Law's signature moment, part 2. You know what I'm saying? He's already been in the wild card, so I'm hoping he can advance past the wild card, go to the divisional again, capitalize after that.
Just like I said, they talk about it, you know. Josh Allen's boogeyman. Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs, not in the playoffs. I mean, he's beaten Lamar twice in the postseason, but I get why they say that. No, Lamar. Burrow hasn't made the playoffs since they went back to the AFC Championship to rematch Kansas City, and that's been, 3 seasons now. So it's just like, yeah. So we've kind of been used to not seeing Burrow, not any fault of his for obvious reasons. We know why, but Cincinnati's not in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know if they're feeling the pressure up in Buffalo to get it done, but the play on the field would determine, because I feel like if they come out there playing all tight and all, you know, a little conservative, then he's like, and then this team out here playing loose, like, I wouldn't say call him an upstart, because Trevor Lawrence been in the league going on almost his 6th season now. They got a lot of talent. They actually went to Denver and took down the Broncos in the regular season in a pretty nice fashion. Stuff like that. So it's just like, so I'm gonna go. Like I said, I'm not obviously not gonna be surprised if Buffalo wins this game, and they're actually the favorite. But I'm gonna go with Jacksonville and Duval. So I'm gonna take Jacksonville. But like I said, this is the matchup of the weekend for me, honestly. Like I said, because I wouldn't be mad at either outcome of this game. But for the sake, I'm gonna pick Jacksonville. But I wouldn't be mad at either outcome, because I feel like this game can really, you know, be a show stealer. If this is a WrestleMania card, this can be steal the show, basically.
Yeah. And it was some stark, you know what I'm saying, differences in how Buffalo played. And you just brought up a really good game, you know, that they ended up winning, but they beat the Broncos. But then they lost to the Texans, you know what I'm saying? And we watched that game. And, you know, I don't know if I think I was watching, I was telling somebody like, yo, Josh Allen ain't got no time to throw. He can't get a throw off. You know what I'm saying? All this, that, and the third. Ended up being a much tighter game, I think,
even Buffalo lost to the Falcons, so yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's just the craziest things. And, you know, you go back to a couple weeks ago when they lost over that 2-point play. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at a Buffalo team that's really probably a 3 seed, but they play like a 6 seed. But, yeah, I mean, we both got the double upset, so we're going to see what's going to happen this weekend.
To what we got the next 3-6 on the NFC side, we got San Francisco, who was pretty much a game away from actually possibly having a bye week, going against the defending champs in the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we seen Philly's offensive struggles.
Trap game.
As this season went along, we seen the last time these two teams played in the postseason, Brock Purdy got knocked out the game. The backup quarterback got knocked out the game. Brock Purdy had to come in, but sometimes Christian McCaffrey was out there running Wildcat the rest of the game, and they lost the final score 31-10. But obviously we seen San Fran make the Super. Yeah, obviously we seen San Fran make the Super Bowl the following year. But what are we thinking about this game?
It's always
I know where I'm headed with this one.
Yeah, this is a trap game, man. If there was ever a trap game in the NFL, this is it. You never want to be across the field from Shanahan. that's really who you don't want to be across the field from. And I think this is one of those times where, and I got high respect for Nick Sirianni, but this is one of those times where he thinks he's smarter than he is, and he's still going to get outsmarted by the other coach. This time, Brock Purdy, as long as he can stay healthy, he ain't going out. And the way Brock Purdy played since he came back from injury, just had his career high. What did I tell you he had his career high in? Passing touchdowns in a single game?
Let's say. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Over Chicago, I think, yeah.
I watched a couple of their games. Willing and dealing since he got back. He's healthy. He looks good. Christian McCaffrey is healthy. He looks good. They still missing some vital pieces from that team. That's the only reason.
No Fred Warner, no Joey Bosa.
Yeah, and so, A, that's part of the reason why they're only a 6 seed. B, if they weren't in one of the toughest divisions in football right now, they probably would be a 1 seed somewhere else. So, that's just something that's just food for thought. But it's a trap game. I think I got San Fran going on the road and doing a job.
I kind of with San Fran, like I said, Philly. Like I said, even though granted San Fran's defense has not been the best that we've seen in recent years, but it's due to a lot of injuries. I know what, maybe they get Trent Williams back, obviously, by the time they kick off at 4:30 Eastern on Fox, and Ricky Pearsall as far as the offense go, but that offense can make plays, and we seen Philly defense, even against a Cowboys putrid defense, struggle. So, and I think, like I said, the whole rest of the starters thing, I get that, because it's like, okay, we don't have a shot at the 1 seed, so why even rest the starters? Or we haven't secured the 1 seed, so why even why even play the starters anyway, man? Just go ahead and everybody sit out. We just go, Devontae get his 1,000 yards, and we just keep it pushing. So, like, I don't disagree with Sirianni on that note. They did it last year. They locked up the 2 seed. Saquon had a chance to break the record, but he was like, "Nah, I'm cool. Let's just get into these playoffs and make this run."
So it could be the same thing here.
Yeah. So you never know what can happen. But I'm gonna go with San Fran. I'll go with this. This might be one of these mid-high scoring games. Combined score 50, 51. Like it's a 28-24 San Francisco. And what do we got in the nightcapper of Wildcard weekend? Are we going back to the NFC or the AFC? I want to say, we're going back to the AFC. MVP candidate Drake May in the New England Patriots going against LA Chargers and Justin Herbert. Still looking for that first playoff win in 6 seasons. Now, this is another second-year quarterback in the postseason. On the AFC side, this time they got 2 of them in Bo Nix, but Bo Nix played in the playoff game last season. So Drake May alongside Caleb Williams making their playoff debuts. But what are we seeing in this New England versus Chargers game? The Chargers got to travel all from West Coast, and they got to play in a cold weather environment. But at that time, I don't think jet lag should be a problem, because they're not playing at 1 a.m. or 1 p.m., which is still 10 a.m. on the West Coast.
They're rested.
What are we thinking about this game?
I think this is just a great game overall. You know what I'm saying? These teams match up well on paper, from the quarterbacks to the running backs, to both teams having more than one running back that they can rely on, both teams having multiple receivers and a tight end that they can rely on, both teams having defensive players that are absolute just either great playmakers or just play well together as a team. Since moving on from Baby Bosa, who is still in the playoffs too, right?
Nick. I said they was missing Joey Boy, but I meant
no.
49ers are missing Nick Bosa. Yeah, I think 49ers are actually missing Nick Bosa. But yeah, Joey Bosa is in Buffalo.
Yeah. Okay, but still, I say that to say, you know what I'm saying, the Chargers, even missing Joey, you know what I'm saying, are still right there. They're another one of those teams, because I think Herb played through injury for a good bit of the season.
Yeah.
They are another one of those teams in another one in a tough division. They finished second in their division, in a division with the Chiefs. So, everybody had ample opportunity. They only got outplayed by the number 1 seed in the AFC. So, I say all that to say, they had positive records all the way around. 11-16, 11-6 looks one way on paper, but on the field it looks a different way. This is another one of the upsets that I really think I got brewing Unfortunately for New England, who only loses at home, and that's a fun fact for those that don't know that. They have not lost a game on the road this year, which makes it great for Road Warriors. But losses like they took against the Bills, like you said, against the Raiders, and I don't even know who the third one is. Those kind of losses at home sting. Because I think there's a comfort level that comes with that. I think this team is still excited, still a little overzealous, still probably not ready for the spotlight that we think they're ready for. I think it's going to be a really good game, but yeah, I got an upset in this
one. With this one, yeah, I'm not going to necessarily say I have an upset, and I wasn't even per se going to go with the flow. Like this one, this might be the only one I really don't have a pick for, if we being honest. This one, I'm just because going with the flow, I was like, yeah, I got New England and they're going to advance. Like, nah, I'm going to sit this one down. I'm just going to watch this one. Like, I ain't even going to try to throw a dog, and I don't have a dog in fighting any of these. I'm just making a, expert pick or expert analysis. But like you said, this is a matchup. This is a style. And all these playoff games, there are some styles. And I think this one, they got this on their side, they got this on their side. Like you said, they got both the quarterbacks can play at a high level, high quality receivers. Both have some pretty good deep physical defenses. I know what New England is top 4 on offense and total offense and defense. I know Chargers is top 10 in defense. The offense is, kind of middle of the pack. But when you got a top 10 defense, all you really need is average. If you top 10 in one category, all you need to be is average. Your team can just be average in the other category, and you can win some games. Just find a way to get out of your way. So with that, this is gonna be one of these fun Sunday night playoff games to almost wrap up Wildcard weekend. But I'm not really gonna make a pick on this one because whoever wins this game, I know if the Chargers win, they get to face the Broncos again because the 1 seed always plays the remaining lowest seed, so on and so forth. But like I said, I'm not really just going to make a pick. I'm going to just sit back and watch it and then be like, okay, this how this went down.
That's how it ended up playing out.
Yeah, and then we're going to come back and just recap it. So I'll just put a bow on that. And then for, to wrap up Super Wildcard weekend, we got Monday night. Steelers coming off that emotional win to clinch the AFC North, going against one of the hottest teams in the NFL, a team with one of the best defenses in the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud has played, I think he's playing in his 5th playoff game. We all know what Aaron Rodgers is, 4-time MVP. They're going to have DK Metcalf back, but who was missed, honestly.
He was very missed.
What do we see happening in this game? We seen that Texas elite pass rush, so I will say that.
It's crazy that after the whole weekend, we're going to have to go into Monday knowing that we got black on black crime coming, because it might be a murder and it might be a firing that come on that following Tuesday. I hope it's not Mike Thomas' last game. This one's just going to be a good game. Like I said about the Texans earlier, you know what I'm saying? Knowing what some of the teams' records were 7 or 8 weeks ago, and seeing how it ended up going, like Texans were a team that I wrote off. The Chargers was a team that I wrote off. The Jaguars was a team that I wrote off. All 3 of them made the playoffs. So just seeing how they turned around this season is really crazy, you know what I'm saying? And Houston got that defense, man. They got that defense, and they rally around their coach. Of course, their coach is another one of our guys on the other side of it. And, I'm always going to cheer for him. I think like you with the last game, this is one I'm not going to make a pick over because I like both sides of it. I think they match up just as well as any other matchup. But I do think it favors matchup-wise Houston, and they at home. But C.J. Stroud, I'm still trying to see where he's going.
Jury's kind of still out.
Yeah, he's either going barbecue or mildew. You know what I'm saying? Right now, middle of the pack, I'm still waiting for that to come around.
He's just meddling.
But nothing too much on that one.
I think, honestly, I'm going to go, and I know the Ravens, D'Amico Ryans, 2 playoff appearances, they've won on Wildcard weekend every time they made the playoffs. So he's actually undefeated in the playoffs. Well, in Wildcard weekend because they lost in the divisional round of Baltimore and Kansas City. I'm going to go Pittsburgh, honestly. I think for the sake of, like you said, with Mike Tomlin still surrounding job security, the fact that they haven't won a playoff game in a decade, you know what I'm saying? And then all these times they've made it to the playoffs, not that they was just one and done. It was just like it was not even a competition every time they made the playoffs. This decade, 2020, Cleveland get that first playoff win in 25 years, 26 years or whatever it was, and they looked bad. They snuck into the playoffs in 2021 because the Chargers called the timeout when the Raiders was just okay with just running the clock out and ending the game in a tie so they both can get in the playoffs, and they got ran off the field by Kansas City. They made the playoffs last season. Got ran off the field by Baltimore after they were actually leading in a division. At one point, it looked like they was about to win the division, but they faltered towards the end of the year with Russell Wilson, how you may have it. So it's just like they just gotta, you would think with the history saying like that, you pick Houston, but I'm gonna go Pittsburgh because I think they're trying to get that sour taste out of all these playoff woes out of their mouth up there. And then Tomlin, like I said, for the sake of him, asking another season in Pittsburgh. And seeing if Rodgers is going to retire and all that and see what they do with the future because, there's some quarterbacks coming out. Yeah, but I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to take Pittsburgh. That's not even status quo. Status quo, obviously, with me saying Houston with the pass rush, which they still have, and they got the playmakers, C.J. Strouds, the Nico Collins, the Dalton Schultzes, and all these guys. Those two rookie wide receivers they got. Two rookie wide receivers they drafted from Iowa State. There's just so much over there, Will Anderson, a Pro Bowler. It's just like Houston has everything in their favor. But I'm going to go with the OG veteran Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers to pull this game off. And that's, we pretty much covered everything. Started with the coach firing, ended with the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, shout out to so thank y'all for tuning in for Let Me Say This. We will be back pumping Let Me Say This, the OG, as we are approaching our 1 year mark of doing this. So we will be back on here on the regular, but college football season is winding down, but we still gonna have transfer portal news and spring ball news and whatever you may have it. So, but we still will pump out everything in the elephant in the room. But once college football season pretty much comes to an end, we pretty much gonna transition and have everything on this show, including from March Madness, a little bit of MLB, of course, the NBA. So, yeah, we will be back pumping on Let Me Say This, and we're going to close up shop with the elephant in the room at the conclusion of the national championship. Mm-hmm. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, any feedback, any suggestions. We welcome it all. But for Anthony Likes, Dre Davis, Let Me Say This, signing out.
Start.